a lot's happened in the last week, and I wanted to put that into perspective. So last week, we talked to Tom from Hookup Baits and all that stuff.
Thank you, Deborah.
After that episode, I was so excited to go fish that I immediately left and went to go fish. So
Lucky.
Yeah, you did.
I'm texting and driving like a boss. I'm out here talking to Tom and driving, bumping some music at the same time. And I pull up to the hole, and I got 30 minutes left, right? I got 30 minutes before I get to go.
30 minutes or less.
Yeah, seriously. And so my buddy Simon, we all know Simon, he was killing it in one spot. And I was like, oh, cool. Let's see if they're still biting and all that stuff. I took a Jika rig and I took a chatterbait. I put the chatterbait in my pocket. I had the Jika rig tied on. And I was like, I'm not going to use the chatterbait. But there's no reason not to have a second bait.
I'm just going to interrupt you so everyone knows we all go with our bag and all our stuff. Daniel throws a couple baits in his pocket and goes, oh, I don't have pliers.
Hey, but wait, I carry a backpack and still have baits in my pocket. Hey, Daniel, don't even trip. I carry a backpack and still have baits in my pocket. Looks like, what the fuck do you oh, sorry. What the hell do you carry a backpack for?
I pick out like 3 baits and then maybe a couple extra plastics, and I just put them in my pocket, and that's what I fish with. But so I wasn't expecting to break off and then use the chatterbait, but I threw something in there.
I think you wanted it to break off on purpose.
No, not at all. I had more confidence in the Jika rig than I did have in the chatterbait. So what was funny is I was like, I'm gonna put it in there for backup, buddy system, just making sure I have a backup, being prepared, being that Eagle Scout that I am. Never thought I was actually going to use it. Break off like third cast, and I was like, man, all right.
Busy man, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, I was like, I got 5 minutes, whatever. I'll tie it on. I've been wanting to fish it for a while because we've been messing with chatterbaits for a long time. I was using one of the Guggen, I was using one of the Guggen chatterbaits that Luke gave me.
I like how that looks. I like how that chatterbait.
It looks fantastic with the slug.
Do you have one, Luke?
Fantastic.
No, I gave it to him because it was a little light for me. I like heavier chatterbaits.
Yeah, it's a 3/8, a little bit lighter than we usually throw. But I was just like, this looks, out of all the chatterbaits that we've tried, besides like the Z-Man chatterbaits, a close second is the Guggen Baits chatterbait in my mind. Fantastic. I pitched it a couple times and I was working it. I was like, I'm just having been working at chatterbaits, so I'm feeling it out, either giving it a couple pops, rolling it slow, and like third cast, I'm seeing how slow I can wind it with it still chattering, and boom, just hook up. And I think it's a good spotty. And so I'm like, all right, let's muscle it. Let's just wind down on it and pump up, fighting it like a bluefin and all that.
Let's be honest.
I'm with you on that one.
You weren't there for spotties. That wasn't a bycatch. You were targeting them.
No, that was
because we'd already been talking about him at that point.
Wait, why'd you have to spoil the story? He didn't even.
I know.
We was getting to it.
Striper Luke for a month now, and at this point, I gave up. I was looking for spotties. I gave up on striper. I was looking for spotties. I actually totally forgot because the same spot, Simon killed it on spotties. He's like, "Yeah, dude, I caught 6 spotties there." So I was like, "Oh, cool! I got 20 minutes. I'm gonna just hit the spot for 20 minutes." Thinking that I was going to get a spotty. That thing rolls right where I'm standing, right? And I'm like, oh, crap. That's a striper. I back off on the drag because, the last episode we were just talking about, I was buttoned down, snapped off, and all this stuff. And I'm like, let's wind this back a little bit. So I loosened up the drag. And
Matt's on.
I'm using a really light rod, so I wasn't expecting to be able to bounce him. Dude, I got the bounce and I was shaking.
That's it right there, shaking.
So we went out, Luke, right on last Thursday, right? Last Thursday night, and we were trying to figure out what they wanted.
We knew some people were around, so we opted to go fish our normal spotty program for a couple hours.
And then
hey, Matt,
we switched. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
What's going on? Welcome in, Matt. Welcome. Good to see your face again.
Welcome to my garage. It's a train wreck.
I know, it was a change of scenery.
Yeah.
You were in the office last time, huh?
I was, and I got this full Jimmy rig with my kayak crate, a Joby, and it's on my kayak. So I'm just trying to make things work. There you go.
So finish your story, Luke.
Okay, yeah. So we know there's some pressure where we want to go. So I say, hey, Charlie, let's give it a couple of hours. Marinate's a word I like. Let's let it marinate. And so we go do our normal spotty program.
Okay, brisket boy.
Right?
We like to marinate.
No, but
People haven't been watching your story.
But that's something we talk about all the time. Gabe, no one's got something on. No one's been out to the wall. The weather's been rough. It's just been marinating. They're ready to see a fresh hook. So anyway, we go do our normal spotty program. Nothing. What do we get? 2 spotties. Nothing much there. And so
I didn't catch nothing there. You got 2
I got landed one.
and lost a good one.
But yeah, we go to the spot where we're looking, and we see bait being pushed up against the rocks, and it's like, all right, dude, they're here. That we know that striper are there because we're watching them breach. We can literally see them, and we start throwing the kitchen sink at them. And then Charlie has the idea to move to jerkbaits, and it's not one of those. Daniel and Charlie both had some days where I had 30 minutes and I got it done. What do we do? We put in 4 hours, Charlie?
4 hours of fishing.
4 hours?
So I'm like, Luke, they're blowing up. That means they're on top, right? They're feeding on top. So I'm like, if only we had a jerkbait. I have my jerkbaits in the car. I have some in the tackle box.
And
so I tie on this.
I'm throwing poppers and stuff at this point.
So I tie on this what is it, like a 3-inch Yuzuri jerkbait, tiny one. First cast, and I catch a 2-point, like almost 3-pound spotty. First cast, and then Luke's throwing, and then when I'm reeling in the spot,
while in your hand,
while I had the spotty and I'm bringing it in, a striper just went for his bait, and we saw him pop out of the water.
He just barely misses the bait,
barely misses the hook, like barely. And then I put in the spotty, we take pictures and we throw them back. We're like, we gotta get back out there. And Luke starts casting. You have to, what is it, a mega bass jerkbait, like a greenish color?
What did I work that for? Another hour and a half before we got a bite?
Yeah. And then boom, he hooks up. Nice striper.
Yeah, I feel like I've been ripped off because my striper was caught so close to the dock that I just flipped it. I didn't get to fight it.
So then I go out Sunday night after date night, and I had a jerkbait tied on. 30 minutes. That was it. I didn't have no more. And I see the bait working. They're working the bait, and I'm casting, and I got a couple hits, and then I threw another cast, and I caught a small one, maybe like 17 inches.
And you got a different Yuzuri this time, right?
Yeah, it was like a greenish top with a greenish bottom with the orange little like piece of the belly. And I'm casting, so I threw that one back, and I'm casting. My wife's like, we gotta go. I'm like, just one more cast. And you know those one cast that you're like, oh, it's just perfect. And I'm winding it, and I wind into it because I didn't set the hook because it's a jerkbait. That's trebles. So I wind into it, and sure enough, I'm on, and it's fighting me, dude. I'm buttoned down. My drag is buttoned down, and I'm fighting him. He's going under the dock, and I muscled him out, flipped him on the dock, and just like Daniel said, man, I started shaking. I'm like, oh, it's like, what? So I took some pictures. It was nice, man. I would say it was like maybe like a 23-pound probably, but it was
I was
nice.
going to be like a 20-pounder.
I wish. You wouldn't know if it was a 20-pounder. I would have called you probably that day.
We've been eating
17-pound calico, 20-pound striper. What next? What next? A 7-pound spotty?
But oh, that would be insane, huh? So, anyways, but yeah, what's up with you, Matt?
Thinking of 7-pound spotties. No, full time. Just been busy at work. To be honest, we got ICAST like a month away, so it's like our busy time of the year.
So that's going to be wild.
Where's ICAST being held?
It's second week of July after the 4th in Orlando, Florida.
Now, do you already have a trip set up for when you're out there?
You know what's funny? So, gosh, I think my first ICAST trip was 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really my first rodeo. And I love Florida. The people of Florida are awesome and interesting. The fishing's killer. But to be honest, these days I try to get in, get what I need to get done for work, and then get out of there. On July,
family.
Yeah, July is so hot out there too. Yeah. But prior years, I'd try to sneak out, and our sales rep in the area, he's in around Cape Canaveral. So we'd sneak out, fish around, what is that, the Banana River, and some of the mangroves for like nook and redfish stuff. But no, just getting ready for that. I'll be up at Tackle Warehouse on Thursday, shooting some stuff for new products with their crew. And then while I'm up there on the Central Coast, going camping just with my family, there's a cool little
nice
little spot we go up to in Santa Margarita. Nice little like mellow deal for Father's Day weekend before I get into the full ICAST.
Yeah, I had to go out and work there for 8 weeks about, I don't know, 11 years ago, June, July, this time of year. And that weather is no joke, especially transitioning from our weather. It probably took me, and we're working construction, so it took me a week to not have a day where I just felt like I was going to die because of the weather.
Yeah, especially if you're working outdoors in construction, because it's like
we were indoors.
Yeah,
but the facilities were so big there was no AC.
Yep, that's probably the worst thing. So like our setup day, and whether you're working the Fed Hall Show, PCS, or whatever, like it always is a lot of work and it's never the most fun. When you in the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, they don't have the AC on while it's setup day. It's like pure torture. But
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. So
how come though?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things that cost cutting perspective or what have you. But I'm not. It's always been that way. So yeah, man. Now I've just been busy with work and like just work and family. To be honest.
So you haven't been fishing lately?
A little bit here or there. I fished Lake Barrett not too long ago. That was probably my last little trip. The kayak out, shoot, maybe 3 weeks ago now or so. That's probably one of my favorite places to fish. Like I don't really fish the lakes around here regularly, but I'll go out of my way to fish Barrett on my kayak just because it's so much fun. We've been going down there for shoot over 10, 12 years now.
How was the bite?
It was pretty killer. I went with my buddy Skylar Cachadorian. We launched in the dark. We got there at like 4 a.m. And mind you, like the Barrett trips for me, it's like there's no sleep. I'm leaving my house at 1 a.m., getting in line at 3:50, launching my kayak at 4 something a.m. But no, fishing was killer. I got out of there, but I had like 28 fish. No big ones, but just all those solid like 1.5 to 2.5 pound northern strain fish. And like, there's different ways you can catch them at Barrett. A lot of guys, like the default for most guys, if you've never been there before, is they'll recommend a weightless Senko and a fluke for spinnerbait. But I like fishing my own little style. I like power fishing. Right when we got there from the jump, got them on the frog, and then I'd kill a little spinnerbait by throwing chatterbait around. And I mainly just stuck to a few baits. It was a popping frog, spinnerbait, chatterbait, and a big 1/2 ounce jig and a 3/4 ounce jig. The rad thing with down there is I fish straight 65 pound braid on a 7.6 heavy flipping stick with a 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce jig, and you're just full Bassmaster classic style, just like slack line. It's a lot of fun.
So now you say poppin' frog. It's like regular frog opposed to poppin' frog.
Yeah. So
which one's which?
This is regular. This has the popper face.
Yeah.
So I haven't really put any time on these yet. You want to just give us just a quick rundown? Because I'm probably going to be throwing these soon.
Yeah. Shoot, actually, I got it right here. I was trying to find the one I was actually fishing while I cut it off. But the one I was fishing was this is a different color. This is style. This is a Molex. What do they call this one? Oh, actually, it's a Molex frog. It's their popping frog.
I think that's the size up from this too.
Yeah, it's just like maybe like a 60 millimeter or 65 for how they size them. My homie Tom Best, he has it's Instagram account called Frog Eaters. Tom's an old school skatehead from back in the day from Philly, and then he worked with Molex on the design of this frog. He mainly
so is that a weighted frog? Is it weighted?
Yeah, the weight's on the tail end.
Oh, okay.
So this down like this, and then when you work it, I pretty much like pop and walk it. I know, just like the song goes. Except pop, lock, and drop it. You're popping and walking it.
So you're popping it and then walking it.
Yeah.
Not just pop.
Some guys will pause where it kind of like bubbles, gurgles, pause. But especially there wasn't a full blown shad spawn, but there was some shad popping, so I was just trying to walk it. And like, but most time when I'm getting bit, it's like you make your cast, The bait's going to land. I usually let it settle for a second. A lot of times you're getting bit in that first split second that bait sits there right on the edge of the bank. Or after you work it a couple, walk it slightly, pause it, and then, and you usually get bit within the first like 15 feet of the bank, more or less. That's how I fish it.
Now, are you trimming these at all?
These, I didn't trim. I think his come out of the gate pretty mellow.
Now, I know that there's a secret way to actually hook setting on the frog, because I've fished the frog in one of my buddy's ponds, and I've gotten blown up on a frog numerous times, and I've only hooked one.
Yeah.
Do
So is it a certain way? Is it a certain way you got to hook set it?
How hard you're hook setting?
So, like, believe me, dude, like, being a dude from California and not really fishing. That's the reason I fish Barrett, because I could fish all this fun stuff and actually catch them on it or be effective with it. But believe me, dude, I used to suck at frogs. I was in the Mississippi River fishing some like backwater sloughs in what is that called? The duckweed. And I was missing fish left and right. And then they started talking crap. Oh, come on, California, Matt. But these are all boys from the back east, and that's what they do is they slackline. But you basically have to let them. It's hard because it's all visual, mind you, just like a weedless fish. They're gonna come up, they're gonna get it. You almost have to wait like it's a live bait bite. Give them a second or two, and then literally slackline hook set. There's no pressure set like you're fishing a weedless bait with like a beast hook or whatever. It's let them get it. You can almost let them see them swim. And that way they get it. You make sure they have it good, and then you crack them. And don't fish light. At the lightest I'll fish for frogs is like 50 pound braid. But I'm usually fishing 65, 50 on the heavy actions. Like I fish like a 7.3 heavy rod, so I got a lot of backbone.
But it's more, don't get excited when you feel the fish.
And it's not easy. It's easier said than done.
When you're fly lining and you're like 1, 2, 3, 4. You click it into gear and you just hold on. It's like that. And oh my gosh, so when you get blown up on the frog, you're so excited that you're just like, hell yeah! And just absolutely Bill Nance.
Right out the mouth.
Your frog comes at you like a dart, just straight at you.
And believe me, I had more than enough of that a few weeks ago because I still get super hyped up and excited. Dude. Oh my god! I was like, whack, and it was like, oh, it's my line. Literally, my line stuck on my reel handle, and I'm like, oh,
yeah. And that's why, boys and girls, I only have one frog fish.
Yeah,
because I get way too excited.
What's up, Kevin?
If they miss it, you could fire back in there and get him to bite again. It happened at Barrett where it was under a tree. He missed it. I skipped it back under there, and then I took my time, paused it, ate it, cracked him. It's okay. Cool thing with largemouth is you can still throw back in there and catch him.
Right.
And here's like a bait I like fishing this is a Teckle Sprinker. This fish is like a hollow body buzzbait, really.
And you add that to the back?
No, this comes like this.
Oh,
Teckle,
crazy.
JDM from Japan originally. And you fish it like a whopper plopper, but it goes good over grass or vegetation. So you could get that same like plopper presentation, a buzzbait-esque presentation, but do it in a round cover. And these guys are a little sneaky too. These are the little. So here's like a full-size Teckle, and then here's a little guy. This is a Booyah Pad Crasher. I think this is
Booyah makes some cool stuff.
Yeah, their frogs are killer. They're cheap, like $7.
Spinner baits too.
Yeah.
Booyah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they've got heavy spinner baits as well.
Jason, that's all. A lot of that's kudos Jason Christie. Christie's if I was going to say if I had a favorite pro bass angler that's on that level, Christie's probably one of my favorites. Just the way he fishes. He likes fishing fast, like spinner bait, frog, big line. Unfortunately, spent some time in the boat with him too, so I have to see how he operates and how he rolls. And
nice.
He's got every bit you see on TV. It's all legit in real life. You can call him like the Clint Eastwood of bass fishing. He just really lays low, a cold-headed killer, and it's good.
So I'm gonna rewind to the frog just to really get this dialed in. When I was fishing in Florida, and I was out with a guide, and we were fishing these big worms that floated on a big hook, and he like taught me how to set the hook before we even started, because he's like, you're gonna miss bites if you don't set hard enough. Yeah, and the way he equated it was, you need to set the hook like you're swinging at a fastball in baseball.
Yep.
And is that the same thing with the frog? You want to set it full speed?
It's one of those things where and I guess funny because saltwater, we don't set the hook, like wind them on or what. But in this scenario, you want to crack them, and even because the way they eat it and the way the hooks, this is like a smaller Kyera the Jackal makes, but because those hooks are at top, so even if you like side sweep, you might pull the bait. I try to just like up and at an angle so that the hook is driving up, so to speak, and catches them. It's one of those things too where it's like you're gonna miss fish just because the way things situated and things get weird. It might be grass, but you can crack them and as hard as you really can because you got two big heavy. This is actually, it's probably a bad example, but on this like Spro, this is probably your cliche Spro popping frog. There's big 3/0 heavy gauge Gamakatsu.
Yeah.
So you really need to fish the braid and really need to fish you could get away. You don't have to have a heavy action rod, but you need to have a medium heavy action rod that has a lot of backbone. So when you do crack them, that you drive the hooks on. So yeah, man, Barrett, it's fun. I love that place. I'm trying to like pro tip. If you want to buy tickets for the next month, the tickets go on sale in, let's see, 33 minutes.
So hop off of this thing and get some tickets.
Again, people wonder, how do you get the tickets? It's you got to know when they drop and you got to get on it like then and there.
Okay, tickets to go fish?
So there's the thing about Lake Barrett. It's ran by the San Diego Water Department. And they all, right, Kevin? Yeah.
And I'm out.
They only allow.
Is it barbless there?
Is barbless? Yeah, so all my stuff, like this is my little Barrett box. They're all barbless, which you'll shed a tear when you crimp the barbs on a $15 frog, but it is what it is. But yeah, they only sell tickets to get access to their on Ticketmaster. Kind of always been that way.
And is it a no motor lake?
No, it's a motor lake, but the only boats you can run are their rentals, or you could kayak, or you could float tube, or fish from the shore. So they really limited the amount of people that get on the lake. And that's why the lake's always been so good too, is because it's only open, I think, from like May through September or something.
Okay.
And then
So they rest.
they rest for a long while, and then
Marinades.
you marinate.
Marinate.
Exactly. And at the end of the two, there's only allowed a certain amount of people each year, so it doesn't really get pressure, but it doesn't get compounded pressure in tournaments. There's no tournaments. It's all just recreational guys. Barbless. Yeah, it's Lake Barrett in San Diego County.
Cool.
One of my favorite places to fish.
So we wanted to talk some more about your exotic trips, places you've traveled.
Yeah,
Baja, let's start with Baja because, man, those fish look gigantic.
dude. Okay, so when Charlie hit me up, it was just some ideas and things. I was like, shoot, man, I don't know. Here's some ideas. We didn't really get into Baja last time, and we'll start there. But so Baja specifically, those are Cabrilla. We're fishing in the Cia Cortez. The first time I went was 2015 or 2014. My buddies have been talking about it. Justin Hugron and who else went? A lot of the Dana Point boys or crew were going there back in the day. A lot of the guys worked on the sport boats and fished SWA. We heard a little bit about it from Jerry Mayhew and some of the other guys have been going down there for years. And then we took our first ship in 2015. Long story short, it was always a rough drive down there just because it used to be a dirt road. They ended up doing some construction on Highway 5, so it made it a little easier to drive down there. But we went down there. The first time I experienced it, I just heard about it. The early days is going to like in the shop, the performance. Mark Higashi would always talk about these grouper and these Cabrilla, and they used to do trips down to Bay of LA, but we never experienced it. And then prior to the trip, which kind of blew my mind, this is 2015. So this is like a ways back now where that was, we had modern tackle as far as like weedless stuff. And so it's not that old, so to speak. And we're new to the whole Cabrilla grouper thing. Guys have been doing it forever. We just heard, okay, when you go down there, it's calico bass on steroids. And I'm like, it's like my 300 fine. He's like, I don't know, it might not be good. And I'm like, okay, what do we fish for? And they're, and you're going to probably fish 80 or 100 pound braid or 65, minimum 65. And you're going to want to have single strand wire leader, learn how to do a haywire twist. And this is all foreign. I was like, wait, wire? And I'm like, haywire twist. I'm like, okay, this isn't 65 pound braid and 40 pounds leader. This is a whole different program.
Yeah.
So we had to figure out what the tackle was. Like, don't bring, you can bring swim baits, but you really want to fish hard baits. But so we got the short fishing with our buddies. They'd been down there a couple of times. They gave us the dope. Hey, do this, just bring hard baits, surface iron, keep it simple. And then, we went down there and I think somebody's asked Gonzaga Bay. Yeah, we're in that range in Gonzaga. And a lot of guys are going to Bay of LA right now. There's some few like caravan trips and stuff that go do that. But we camped down there on the beach, really rootsy. And you're off the grid, dude. Like there's no internet, no cell phone service. Like
That's sick.
everything's the drive down there is, it's like you're in another country too. Like which not to say like, I mean, I recommend if anybody's interested in Baja to do your research. I encourage people to go, but there's always that sketchiness of going down to Mexico and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We have our little core group of guys, they had the program down. So we were able to learn how everything rolls, what to do, what not to do, when to leave, when to roll in a caravan, bring some two-way radios. So you at least chat with everybody and know if Federali's coming up or the police are here or there. Just to have eyes and ears out. But dude, it's a killer adventure. It's one of those things where it's like, we have this really killer fishery. You basically drive down there in 10 hours. And you're not fishing the Pacific Ocean, you're fishing the Sea of Cortez, the Gulf of California, whole different ecosystem, different kinds of bait fish. You're catching the grouper, you're catching,
so you're on the
inside. Yeah. Yellowtail are like a nuisance, to be honest. Like there's like foamers of these firecracker, like 6 to 12 pound yellows that you'll get tired of catching if you run into them. There's like Sierra mackerel. It's just it's a cool little escape from what we're accustomed to on the Pacific side. And it's just like super rootsy. It's like you and a few of your buds and you're camping, on the beach and everything's all self-sustained. It's a cool little adventure and it's just beautiful. Like
I will have to say that Sierra, that mackerel, some of the best eating whitefish I've ever had.
Oh yeah.
It just goes well in ceviche, fish tacos, just grilled, baked, fried, any which way you want to do it. It's some of my favorite fish.
Yeah.
You had it before, Luke?
It's good. And like
never had it
down there. Like the Cabri are delicious. I always try to bring a few back. But yeah, man, the fishing there, it's just, to put it in simple terms, it's calico bass fishing on steroids. You're buttoned down
Luke,
your bag.
got a summer program for us.
Right.
The way I like fishing it, I fish the Penn Fathom 400s. I like the lower gear ratio just because I got a little bit more torque. And then I fish pretty much 80 pound. I don't really go lower than 80. And then I fish it to titanium. I fish either 75. I used to fish because they were fishing 125 and stuff. I've gone down. I've been away with 75 or 90. I can't remember the size. Wire. Run that to a clip. And then pretty much we mainly fish hard baits, but we've been experimenting with some swim baits and stuff, doing decent on those too. But yeah, man, I will say it's fishing though.
Is the 300 too light or will the 300 work?
I mean, you could get away with it, but it's
conventional or low? Conventional?
Low pro.
Oh, low pro.
Like a Penn Fathom 400. You can fish a 300 or like whether Fathom 300 or a Dyrolux at 300 or a Tranks 300. The only thing that I would say you may encounter run into is this: there are big yellows there and really big grouper, whether it's a Gulf grouper, and they have all sorts of other. You might hook into a TOTW, which is basically like a white sea bass that could grow up to 80 pounds. Grouper, this Gulf grouper you could hook into that, like a small one's like a bass, but you could hook a Gulf grouper that's like 40 to 60 pounds. So if you do hook one of those things, last time we were there, I hooked into, I don't know, it's like a 30 plus pound yellow that smoked me on a 400 if I was on a 300. So you're just basically fish whatever you got, but just try to prepare to get humbled at some point.
Yeah.
So try to control those variables as best you can, fish heavy. There's no reason to finesse these things.
How many rods do you bring down there?
I think I brought 4.
So
3 like dedicated.
That's like your standard setup.
Yeah, I had all were Fathom 400s with 80, and then I had one like surface iron style rod. I fished those are the Phoenix 809. I like 8-foot surface iron rod, 809, the X I think extra heavy jig rod. And then I have another one, a 7.6 heavy. It's like a Phoenix blank. I don't know I think it's like the 760H. I don't think it's actually designed for calicos or bass. My buddy Randy Spicer, he put me on that blank. He calls it the Cabrilla Killer. That's what he has it on his custom wrap. So I like that 7.6 heavy. I'm a little bit smaller guy. So with that, I don't need an 8.6 or an 8. If a 7.6 for me is I can get like good tension. And also if I need to maneuver them around, it's a little bit more agile than a longer rod. Some of my preference too. Some like Jerry Mayhew. Jerry's probably been there more than a lot of other guys. And Jerry likes fishing an 8.6 Daiwa rod with a high gear. So I'm like, dude, I'm on the polar opposite, bro. But find out whatever works for you, what you have confidence in.
What reel are you using on the heavy rod?
All Penn Fathom 400s, the 6 to 1. And then I do bring one lighter rod because another thing you can almost guarantee when you go down there is the wind's gonna blow. And when it blows down there, it's blowing like 25 to 40 knots. It's like insane. So, and you're stuck. Either you're gonna, which you always find something to do in Baja. So, like whether you're on land camping, you go dig for clams. We usually fish inside the bay there. There's a cool little bay on the inside. There's other little stuff you could tuck away from the wind, and we'll go catch spotties, go catch corvina, or there's some really killer spotty fishing. Which, yeah, I keep it pretty simple. 3 rods and 1 light rod.
What's your PB Cabrilla?
My PB was that one you used for the little.
The one, yeah.
That was a 24 pounder. But that was on my first. That was 2015. I got that 24, and then I've been lucky to catch 220s, which kind of like the 20-pound Cabrilla. So that's that. I would compare it to a Calico 10-pounder, but I feel like it's easier to catch a 20-pound Cabrilla than it is a 10-pound Calico. And then the last trip down there, I got a 22, and like when you hook into the 20-pounder, it's like a whole different animal. And dude, you're hooking this fish, and we like fishing shallow. I hooked that fish in 5 foot of water.
So when you're
the
fishing,
structure's
are you like burning it? How are you fishing it?
That's one thing that's like sometimes they like it fast, sometimes they like just like a nice steady wind, sometimes they want like a stop and a go if it's like a jerkbait. So you have to mix it up and find what they want. The 24 pounder I caught in 2015, that was on some fish that were out busting on bait. We were fishing the bank and we turn around. Oh shoot! Look at those! Like they're just. I made a cast. It was actually a triple. It was me, my buddy Randy Spicer, and my dad. We had a triple. Mine went 24, Randy's went 20 something, and my dad lost his. So it was those were all probably 20-pound class fish, all just middle of nowhere, just on random on bait.
just a big pack running together.
Yeah. And then the 22 from the last trip, that was just an isolated fish on the front side of Isla Lagarda. On the front side, nice and flat, mellow calm. And we're catching some like smaller fish, and out of nowhere came this 22 pounder. It was on the fast one, just really fast. I was fishing. I'll show you. We have these new baits from AFCO. It was on this guy. I call it like a swimming stick bait. This is a 160 millimeter, and it weighs, I think, 3.5, 4 ounces. So you can really bomb it. And it has a glidey kind of it's like a surface iron, but a little more of a glide to it. Mm-hmm. And you could sink it down and you could fish the column, but this one was just winding fast up on the top. And I think came up and smoked it. Yeah, we like fishing hard baits. So this last trip was the first time I fished this. This thing caught a bunch of fish. And normally it's like a Lucky Craft, like 190. That was like the old staple, was a Lucky Craft 190, or the bigger SP minnows. Any big jerk baits tends to be the better deal, just because you got big treble hooks on it. And if you fish plastics, there's a lot of triggerfish down there. So you'll find when you fish the plastics, you get these chunks taken out of your baits.
Oh, really?
From all the triggerfish. So that's why we mainly fish hard baits down there. You'll go through plastics like crazy, and you'll have like literally holes taken out of it from the triggerfish just munching on it. But yeah, lots of fun. And I know you could do the Gonzaga deal camp. There's trips now to Bay of LA. Guys have been going down there doing that deal. And I've been looking at, it's ruined me, the whole Cabrilla thing. Every time I go down there, it ruins me for a little bit, the local fishing, because it's calico fishing isn't really the same for a little bit.
Yeah.
But now I'm looking at, I know there's some zones in Loretto, and there's some other stuff even on the mainland in Sinaloa, which that's untapped. The stuff in Sinaloa hasn't been really hit.
That's
deep.
That's deep Mexico though, huh?
Yeah. It's always
Sinaloa, Mexico.
Yeah, I know. I've been to Durango. My wife's family's from Durango, and I spent some time in Sinaloa and around Mazatlan and some other spots. So I'm relatively comfortable being in Mexico. That helps too. And knowing some Spanish and just having some, I would say above anything, just it helps that I understand the culture and how they roll, like what to do, what not to do. You know what I mean? And like understanding the whole like cultural dynamic of when you step foot in Mexico, how things roll.
Yeah.
That helps a lot too. And just being like, just not being, just don't be a kook. That's shit. Like, don't be an idiot. Don't make a lot of noise. Don't be flashy. And just
I think what you mean is
don't be flashy is the key.
Don't be American.
Come with respect.
In all my cross-country experience and just training, I should say, is it's basically like take everything as an American and then leave it in America.
Yeah. Because they really don't care that you're American or Canadians. There's a lot of Canadians actually that go and vacation and travel to Mexico, especially in that like Mazatlan and Puerto Vallarta and some other spots. Yeah, then just come with respect. Like you're visiting
somebody else's space. Yeah.
And funny thing though, when you are down there, is you see a lot of expats, a lot of gray-haired Americans when you're driving those streets. Oh, there's actually a little more white folks than I would have anticipated the first couple times I went down there. Yeah, it's just a killer adventure. And we always try to do something fun, whether it's that, dude. Back in the day, I think fishing calico is like we try to fish all the places we can for calico. Like we fished up at Santa Barbara. I fished up near Point Conception, Santa Barbara Island, Santa Cruz.
How is it up near Point Conception?
Hey, dude, it looks really, really fishy, but it's tough. And I've only done it a couple times. We got there and caught fish, but it's not, the water's a lot colder, and you got a lot of that oil from just like the natural oil and around that zone that kind of like you'll have oil over your boat. But we've had some really sick fishing north of Santa Barbara. There actually used to be SWBA tournaments in Santa Barbara, so that's like we were forced to, which I miss some of those events that kind of get you out of your comfort zone, because we would go up there and it was a whole new thing for us. Yeah, but we shoot like when I was fishing those things, me and Randy, I think we got like third one of Santa Barbara events, and we had like a 6 and a 4 and just nice fish. And we've had some really killer spinnerbait fishing up there. For some reason, like we were like, they really like spinnerbaits up there. That's where we actually learned to fish spinnerbaits, was a lot of that stretch. And then the Channel Islands up that way, we call it like the other SCI, like Santa Cruz. Like that's a really fun island. It's like you take Catalina, Santa Barbara, and Clemente, put them all in one, and then that's Santa Cruz.
Oh, interesting.
And the fish up there, like footballs, are fat and chunky and all pissed off. Yeah, I don't know. They're just like, they come out flared, and it's like you catch a fish from like the break wall, it's a certain kind of look and feel.
Mm-hmm.
You catch one from PV, it's its own little deal. You catch one from Clemente, they're all like knot heads and like they're all squared out 3-pounders. And they go to, I don't know.
Weren't we talking about going to, what is that? The first one you said, Channel Islands? Weren't we talking about going over there, Luke?
No.
To Short Pound?
No.
No. We didn't?
No.
Yeah,
I could swear
yes, we have. You're talking about Ventura and Oxnard. There's two different
one of
landings.
those places, man. We talked about it, right?
Charlie, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about hitting Alondra. We talk about
you're talking about Shore Pound and Channel Island Harbor.
Remember we talked about
Channel
that?
Island Harbor.
All of a sudden, you guys remember, huh? Okay.
No, but he's talking about the Channel Islands. The island.
I'm defending
You're
you,
talking
Charlie.
about.
I chimed in to back you up.
I know you are. Never mind. I guess I was mixing it up.
Yeah, it's funny when you get those ones that are particularly grumpy. You get a calico that's actually like biting your thumb while you're holding it. What are you doing?
Somebody's gonna take a photo. Oh, this guy just looks mad. His eyes are all like, oh.
All grumpy. Going on your trips, on your business trips, and you get a chance to fish. What's your favorite fish to target?
Oh man, bar none, it's snook. And again, there's the offshore scene and stuff's cool, but at the end of the day, I'm too much of an ADD fisherman where I need to be casting and I need to be like stuff. So, and yeah, snooks, bar none. Redfish are cool too, and they're fun, but snook, I kind of relate snook to like calicos or even like spotties in a way, because they'll get back into the docks. There's a mangrove fish, which mangrove fish, that's probably my favorite way to fish from, is in mangroves, because these mangrove roots are all planted to the ground. Those things just they live right in the middle of them. Like when you're fishing snook, backcountry style and that stuff, I'm fishing I like a kill little travel rod. I'm fishing like a 7-foot medium heavy with a 200 size bait caster.
You're just staying with bait caster. You're not moving.
Yeah. I bring my own stuff because most of the guys fish spinning, but it's funny, if you give me a spinning reel or spinning rod and I fish with it, I'm going to want to make a cast and it's going to go like the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's what we were just talking about, that with Luke, more accurate casting with the bait caster.
I've made a couple trips up to Florida just for fishing. And it's like you said, I bring 4 travel rods.
Yep.
And there are certain things where you need a spinner. So I have spinners, but I tend to lean towards, I bring a couple bait casters, I tend to lean towards them because of the accuracy. Yeah. And it's funny because the captains a lot of times will try to talk, you're probably going to need a spinner. Just leave that bait caster in your car. Yeah. I'll be fine.
And I tell my guys, I'm like, hey, you should try this. I'm like, because they're trying to invent, those things are guides and they just want you to be comfortable. I'm like, nah, dude, like, I'm good. And then I'm fishing like, oh shoot, okay, you know what you're doing. I was like, you're good. I was like, okay, because that's, if you're saying my favorite thing to do is, and I fish our stuff. Like I'm fishing like a 1/4 ounce, like a Warbaits 1/4 ounce, or either with a underspin or not. Or I'm fishing. I mainly the last few trips was the PK5 with I fish a 1/4 ounce. I don't know, weird. I like the 1/4 ounce flashy swimmer, but I take the blade off. I like the way.
Yeah. Luke's it's a little far.
The same way.
Yeah, exactly. and then I could skip it really good. So I could skip it like under the mangroves and things, and then I'm like swimming, and it's all visual because you're like only a foot and a half, 2 feet of water, and that thing's just swimming. All of a sudden, you see this like 30-inch snook come out of nowhere and just smoke it, and then you're just like, then it gets hectic because you got like snooks jumping, it's going to the mangroves, like dirt's all getting kicked up because you're in like a foot or two of water, and you're most like a lot of times we catch a smaller fish, and out of nowhere you'll catch like a 32 incher, something wild,
It's hard because they're the captains. A lot of times we try to get you to downsize your line, and leader, and you're like, I'm fishing big though.
Yeah. Also, the guys that know what's up, they're going to tell you to fish 40 because if they know there's some bigger like 30, 40-inch snook or the big bull reds.
I know we were fishing like spinners with 15-pound with a 40-pound leader.
Yeah, exactly. And because those fish, their gill plates,
15-pound braid.
They have no teeth, but their gill rakers are gnarly, like a sea bass, where then usually they choke the bait.
Well, I know the bigger ones, it's almost like sandpaper.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my favorite fish to catch back east, snook.
What's your biggest? I see some big snook.
Was a shoot. It was one of those pictures. I was like a 30. It was over.
Yeah, that was a big one.
It wasn't quite 40. It was like maybe 36 or 38 or something. But that was my PB with my buddy Rhett Morris. I was in, where were we? Punta Gorda on the southwest side of Florida. But I fished the south or the west side.
Have you gotten to tarpon out there?
You know what? I haven't. We've gone out there, tried to catch them, and just it's off. I've caught like the little juvie guys, the little like the small guys in the harbors and stuff, but I haven't caught one of the big ones.
I also have not caught one of the big ones, but I've caught a couple. I want to say 5 to 10 pound range.
Yeah, I've got those little 5.
That's small.
And those are fun.
Yeah,
the way they jump.
Yeah, they're like. It's when they say like bow to the king, you literally gotta put your line because they know how to throw the baits. Me
and my buddy Ethan, we were out there and we were targeting tarpon, and we were targeting smaller tarpon, so we were geared smaller. We were throwing 4-inch sudden impacts on little warbait heads. Yeah, and the captain kept going. He kept wanting to use artificial, and not artificial. He kept wanting to use actual bait, and we said, hey, we want you to fish with us. Use actual bait. If you're catching, we're going to switch to live bait. And no, it was crazy. The only hookups were on the artificial. Yeah. They did not touch live bait that day.
It's nice when it works that way. Because other times we're like, all in one is bait. It's like, all right, I'll cut my little swim bait off and I'll pin on a pilchard.
And I don't mind that. I just want to give it a try first.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You did catch one, right? You said that you caught one a pretty big one.
No. We both caught 2, and we're not bringing them on the boat. We just got them to leader, let them go. Yeah. I did have one that we were going to bring on the boat. The captain had a hole in his net. That was a bummer. That was a good sized one, and it swam out the hole in the net. But no, we went on another trip, and so we had a trip. We were going offshore, and it hit to cancel it. Hurricane came through. So we set up an inshore trip, and we did a couple things, and we're out in this flat, and as far as you can see, it's flats, 2 feet of water, and there's tarpon running through that are just 6 to 8 foot long. They're so big that they can't fit all the way in the water, and there's sharks running through, and the captain's pulling you around, and they don't want to eat. You're seeing tarpon. It's like Nat Geo stuff.
I've seen it.
You're watching them. You're watching them chase mullets, and it's just crazy. But so what happened is my buddy Ethan. He got I think we had 5-inch sudden impacts on 3/4-ounce belly weights, 5-inch torpedoes, and he ended up hooking into one, and that thing stood up 10 feet from the boat.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I was
just
talking
starts tail walking. Yeah. It's taller than us, and it ends up throwing the hook back at us. The hook hits the boat, and we just sat down. It was like, I don't know what I just saw. I don't know what I just saw. That I'm still thinking about this.
Crazy.
But so yeah, it's wild what's out there.
So is it like it's 2 feet of water, right? Saying 2 feet of water.
2 feet of water.
So are you?
And by the way, if you fall in, just don't move, and I'll come and get you. Because if you start moving, the sharks will come and get you.
Yeah.
And there's that many sharks around. You're seeing them.
Yeah. There's
what is it, like tiger sharks?
Bulls and lemons and all sorts of
bulls. They were particularly bulls where we were at. I don't think they were lemons.
We've caught actually juvenile tigers in like the back. Where were we? I was in Matlacha. near Pine Island, and we caught like a little juvenile tiger. I'm like, oh god, there's the little tigers. There's probably bigger tigers.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, I got an 8-foot lemon shark, which is closer to being about as big as they get.
Yeah.
And that was a real cool moment for me because that was like we had an hour left on my last day of my trip. And so that was what ended everything. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Kevin said he's going to be in Florida in 30 days.
Yeah, Florida's wild. That was actually my other
So you
trip.
gotta
I was fishing with
you gotta
Kev.
tell us about that when you get back, Kevin.
My last trip outside from Barrett, I was on a day and a half on the Islander with Kevin was on the boat and a few other guys for Let's Talk Hookup.
Oh, nice.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I haven't been on the Islander yet.
Oh, killer boat. And I haven't been on a sport boat in a long time, like a proper like overnight long range style boat. And like, the Islander's sick. Like you got staterooms and it's air conditioned. The food and the service was like insane. We had the eggs Benedict for breakfast.
Oh,
we had
is the Islander the one that does all the kayak trips?
Yeah, they used to do the kayak trips, and then I think they stopped doing them, and they transitioned more so to like just the offshore stuff with the bluefin.
Mm-hmm.
And then really the Islander, kind of what they're known for was they used to do all the Guadalupe trips for the great white sharks for like the last, I can't remember, 15, 20 years. And then since Mexico's closed Guadalupe, they're not doing those anymore. Now they're just running like overnight and day and a half trips and all that. But
Now, is Guadalupe temporarily closed?
I think
permanent?
temporarily closed as of like just very recently, but I'm not really sure of like the parameters of how long or what have you.
Why so? Just conservation or just
I think
or something else?
like they're looking to protect the sharks and to keep people away from the island and what have you. But I don't really know what the real reasons are, because it was a big revenue driver for the country, just because with so many people going and the permits and all that stuff. I have no clue. Yeah, we had that trip. So we went, originally we were going for bluefin. We were on that off period. The last things are back on the up with the bluefin bite, but we were on that lull of the bluefin bite. But we knew it was going to be tough, so we fished that deep cod, which I haven't really had a chance to do the deep rock cod thing. And we had so much fun. I was fishing that Kevin, he brought some jigs from Submission for the guys on the trip, and I was fishing that like 600 gram jig.
Mm-hmm.
Things like we're fishing like 80, 90 fathoms, catching big bank rockfish and big reds and these like prehistoric looking boccaccio. That was a lot of fun. I haven't been on a sport boat for a while, so it was nice to eat good. I was like, it's not really biting. I could take a nap.
Having the staterooms makes such a difference.
Yeah, it's killer.
Where does that boat leave off? Where does it launch out of?
That's out of San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Because I never go on sport boats. I think I've only been on Luke's boat.
Hey, man, I was telling the guys, like, oh man, usually I'm in a skiff all day, so I got like a cold sandwich and whatever I got. And
Yeah, last time we had tacos and cold chicken sandwiches, but they were bomb.
Tacos and cold chicken sandwiches was
like
such
full
like
rain gear, I'm like, it's blowing 20 and they're swell, but I'm just in my shorts and flip flops, just
Dude, but we were talking about it. It was so cool just to take a break, because usually we fish through the night,
eating a power bar or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that day, we're like, we're gonna chill. We're gonna eat some tacos and some chicken burgers.
The trip,
And,
I got mad. I was like, Charlie, what? No tacos this time? What the hell?
Daniel,
I guess I'll eat a nut bar.
I know, and I was the one talking about that, huh? Damn.
No, but it's nice
Slept
to get on
on
the
it.
sport boats and and you know how it is too. It's like there's certain sport boats where it's, I can go get a burger. And then you get on that nicer sport boat that's, we made steak.
Yeah.
Some gourmet,
There's no mix.
some gourmet food or what?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Well-
where they got
Let me.
You got a
tell
3-course meal while you're
where it's
fishing?
not- where it's
Damn.
not- yeah.
Well, yeah, for breakfast is eggs Benedict and a nice little deal. And mind you, and I guess this is the do most of the long range boats, they have like soda dispensers. So if you need a soda, you just go up and fill your cup off the dispenser.
Yeah.
And then for lunch, we had to make a run. So they made fresh vermilion and banky fish tacos we just caught. And they're doing a killer little taco presentation and all that. And then literally, and like these guys are just like, he's like literally a chef. And he's like,
Yeah.
for dinner we had
start pulling out like a hot pot and like Korean barbecue and all that stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised, because he had a whole quiver of these like killer Japanese
Knives.
like steel like knives, and me and Kevin were geeking out on them because they're so heavy and like full Gucci. But for dinner we had duck breast with
Doc a la Blanc.
He called it duck. But are you sure it wasn't just like pelican? Or
But again, that's the difference between where you get, again, there's day boats.
Yep.
Then there's the nicer overnight boats, and then there's the stateroom boats where they've now gone beyond state. We went on the American Spirit, and like you said, it was a multi-course meal.
Yep.
Multi-course meal and
like candlelight dinner.
And I'm talking about the rooms were bigger. Like I had a Yeti chair with me.
Yeah.
I was able to set up my Yeti chair in the room.
Yeah, and just post up. Yeah,
That's crazy.
I literally was like, I'm not turning on the AC because I'm too cold. I'm like, this is I'm gonna vote right now.
There were like hooks on the wall to hang your stuff.
Yeah.
And cubbies.
Hey, shout out to my boy Joe. He just jumped on. He used to fish the saltwater bass series.
Joe Shagner.
Yeah.
Joe and Garrett used to fish way back when we were fishing.
They were teammates.
Yeah. Joe's a good cat.
So what other spots have you gotten to go to because of work?
Oh man.
Have you been able to do Louisiana?
I've been to Venice. I was actually I've been to Venice, Louisiana.
Venice is on my list.
Your dad said, "What about the snacks? What about the snacks?"
We had pot stickers.
Oh,
yeah.
We had like fresh made egg rolls.
So they're like legit. They're like beyond snacks.
Like
when I went on the American Spirit, I go, hey, are you guys going to be serving dinner? And they go, no, we're not going to be serving dinner. So I tell my dad, hey, they're not serving dinner. Let's go to, the spot is right there by Fisherman's. It's on the end, and you can get fish tacos and stuff.
Yep.
So we go and we get some fish tacos because they're not going to be serving dinner. We get on the boat, and they just got the most incredible nachos you've ever seen. They not like nachos with some cheese whiz, like gourmet nachos. And we're like, what the hell is this? She said you're not serving dinner. And they go, oh, it's just a
snack. Yeah. And believe me, I love my half day, 3/4 day boat, my cheeseburger and like breakfast burrito. But like when you get on those boats, like you said, it's like a whole nother level of things. But that's what they do. That's their
and their snack is better than a meal on a regular boat.
Damn. I think a snack on a regular boat is just a bar, right?
No, that's always out. There's always a little platter out.
No, the
chips and
snack
bars
on a
and
3/4
cookies.
day boat is a cigarette and a beer. Calm down.
Hey, Matt, Nick said he wants to hear about that 38-pound bag.
Oh. Yeah, I think we got to that last.
We talked about.
Nick's going to have to hear that one on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, quick shout out to Nick. Me and Nick have been chatting a bunch recently because he went to Barrett for the first time and just to give him like some of the lowdown. And he got some pretty good. Sounds like his last trip. And Nick's a good dude.
Nick
we got to fish with Nick.
Put on a clinic.
Yeah.
The crankbait clinic, he put on a how to drive the boat clinic. Like it's literally changed how I run the wall.
Yeah. That's actually a key thing because the guys, I'm like, the way we put our boat certain spots and the way we just to get the right angles and things, there's a lot to that people don't really get into much detail. But
he completely
Luke got to fish legitly for the first time. He wasn't captain.
Which, mind you, this also sucked because the bite was at a certain angle, which is like probably just because of the way that we placed the boat in general is either if we were off that, you weren't getting bit whatsoever. So for the first time, Luke was allowed to fish or able to fish, I should say, because Nick was like, no, Luke, let me handle the trolling motor. I got this. I'm pretty confident in it. Also, I want to see you fish. And Luke proceeded to like break off on his biggest bass ever and then like land like one. And then
I landed 3.
Everyone who's in the bow.
3. Give him some.
Charlie's in the bow, just like raking them in one after another in 2 minutes. So I'm there eating like a Del Taco burrito because they mentioned tacos last time.
And he brings his own only. And he only brings his own. He only brings his own. He didn't care about us.
I'm eating this burrito, and Charlie proceeds to catch like 4 calico between the start and the end of just a normal sized burrito.
Oh, it was good. It was, I mean, on your bait too, man. And that bait was getting slammed. I think I caught like 20 fish on one bait until some calico decided to run off with it. And
so we got like 20 minutes left. I want to hear about Venice, Louisiana, because that's number 1 on my list of places to go right now. So I'm assuming you went there targeting reds?
Actually, a little bit. We tried to do offshore and the reds, but...
So you did the oil rigs for tuna?
Yes. The one thing I'll tell you with Venice is weather is always a factor. I've been down there like two times, and I've never been able to go offshore because of weather. But the inshore fishing is insane. So, yeah, we fished with Eric and Mo Newman at a Journey South Outfitters. They're one of our AFCO on the AFCO Pro team. Really fishy people, really good people. They have a really killer setup. Like, dude, like Eric and Mo, you're fishing on beautiful CVs, and then they got all the Traeger and the Yeti, and it's dialed. But yeah, we just fish the inshore stuff for reds, and yeah, it's Venice. If you were gonna go target like big bull reds and catch them on artificials and things, like definitely Venice is a place to go. And then if you have the opportunity to go on the fish, you can go offshore like 100 miles and get on the big yellowfin or the swordfish and all stuff on the rigs, or you can fish some of the closer stuff for cobia, snapper. But the redfish fishing and the inshore is pretty killer. Yeah, I caught a bunch of fish. No, I didn't get a huge one, but mine was like, yeah, maybe that, like, I wasn't a 40, but it was in that 30, probably about the same size as my snook, 36, 38 inch fish. Caught it on quarter ounce warbaits and a little 3-inch paddle tail that, like my stuff wasn't getting bit. And Mo was like, Matt, take that thing off, put on one of ours. And it was a little purple. What's the color? It's like purple and yellow, like that's, I don't even know who made it, but I caught my fish on that. When you're fishing like stick ups, there's these little reeds and grass that come up and you get into water, and you're just taking little like quick little short casts, and like between me and like here, you'll out of nowhere you'll catch like a 30-inch red. Holy crap, where'd that come from?
Dude, those things fight crazy. All these videos I be watching with the reds, man, even the tiny like slot fish.
They remind me of an inshore yellowtail.
Yeah, because
they're like,
they got those shoulders on them.
They do, yeah, and they do like drag runs, and it's all horizontal because you're in like shallow water. And I didn't have my stuff on that trip. I was using his or theirs. And like they fish relatively light. I was just joking. I was like, this is my spotty gear at home. It's a 20-pound braid to 40-pound leader on a 7-foot medium light, like really whippy action rod. But that's what they like to fish. But yeah, Venice is rad and wild too. Dude, the biggest bugs I've ever seen in my life. And been from Venice, and gigantic alligators. It's wild down there. They call it the world, and it really is. Like,
it's funny. I don't know how you feel about it, but when I'm traveling, it's like you said, you can go offshore and go for tuna, but I got offshore at home.
Yeah,
I want to do inshore. I don't have inshore at home.
Same, especially for bass heads. That's where my will is like that type of stuff and making lots of casts. And I like active fishing versus just trolling around all day or whatever.
Anything inshore we have here, they have to make it a preserve to keep people from developing it.
Yeah,
and so we don't get to touch it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Venice is sick. But yeah, I mainly Venice, Louisiana. I've done a lot of Florida, and then I've done some inland states: Mississippi River, Wisconsin, New York. For up in
what's the Mississippi River like?
Fishy and fun.
Fishy and fun.
We're in
two good words.
We're right on the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota. It's called Pool 5. There's different pool numbers. La Crosse is probably the most known. They do a lot of tournaments out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. But we were a couple of pools up. Actually, I fished up there and I've also fished La Crosse, but it's a river system, which that took me really getting a lot to get used to. I'm used to fishing like stagnant water, whether it's a park lake or a lake for bass, and there you flip your bait out and then it's moving because of the river. That took me a little while to get. So you flip and present a jig and then it's moving the whole time, just knowing and running by a piece of cover. But probably the most fun I had there was in the backwaters. So off the main river, there'll be little sloughs where there's a lot of cover and mainly a lot of like duckweed. Duckweed's like that floating vegetation. And you'll just come to some of these cuts and you just look around 360 degrees, it's all just matted cover. And it's all we're fishing is frogs. It's super fun. Fish, bomb as far as you can. Boosh, catch them on buzzbait, catch them I like power fishing, so like all that fun stuff. Frog, buzzbait, swim jig, chatterbait. And then swim jig, when you fish a swim jig over there, it's what they call like the Alabama shake style. So it's not like us, we're just casting like wind slow. You're casting out with like a 7-foot medium heavy, and you're working the rod, your rod tip's jumping, and you're making like turns of the handle, and the jig just like jumping around.
Yeah.
Do like shallow, and they jump on it out of nowhere. Set the hook, and you're fishing straight like 50, 65-pound braid. It's like that. And they're all northern strain, so they're all super, super aggressive. They're not big. A big one there is a giant's like 5-6 pounds. Mm-hmm. Most of them are like 1 to 3.
Calm down there, Matt.
That's what I was like.
5 pounds. Okay.
Yeah, well, like compared to California, where ours are like get up to 13 or something.
Yeah.
Those guys freak out when they get like a 6. But the northern strain. But then there's also smallmouth. So you're catching smallmouth in shallow water, which that's probably the most unique thing for the Mississippi River is you'll catch smallmouth in 2 to 4 foot of water.
How's the smallmouth bite to the largemouth?
It's different. The smallmouth kind of relates to different structure. You'll target the smallmouth. They call them wing dams. There's little rock jetties that kind of form in different places to offshoot the river. They'll set up edges, and you also, and they say they're on the bars, the sandbars. They'll set up on the little sandbars. The sandbars will come up shallow, and they'll sit and kind of stage there. And you can fish different stuff for this. Yeah, I got like a 3-4 pound smallmouth on a shaky head and like a shoot, I forget the worm. Yeah, that's probably the most unique place I've caught smallmouth, just because it's so shallow. And
Do they fight harder than largemouth?
they fight hard. Like smallmouth, they jump. They're just different. I don't know, and they're better. They're really good at throwing hooks too. Where largemouth, if you got them, usually you got them. But smallmouth, whether it's a treble hook bait, like a topwater bait,
Is that just because they're shaking more violently?
they're shaking more violently, and like the size of their head, it's like really hard. So the hooks, they could throw it easier. And again, they're small. Their mouths are smaller, so your like hook penetration is a lot different than a largemouth, where largemouth has so much soft spots for it to hit. Like we were fishing, what was that bait? Like you grab gunfish, like a 115. Made long cast, I was working it, pause, and then dude, these smallmouth come blast it, jump, do a somersault, and then it's harping. The next thing you know, your bait. Like,
Yeah.
There's 9 hooks on that thing. How does it not stay?
And how did you throw it at me?
Yeah,
How did you spit it at me?
yeah. I like
Why are you not foul hooked?
I like look at it. I look at that bait, and it's like the hooks are in my hand, just because there's 9 freaking. But yeah, that's probably the most. I would say most of that stuff when I've been able to travel, and then there's other little things too, where it's like we'll stay at some places for the Bassmaster Elite Series tournament, and there's always water. The one thing back east, I'm sure you're familiar with, Luke, is that there's water everywhere. So like I could usually find a little pond here. There's another little lake, or so there's always some water to fish.
Me and Charlie were driving to the tackle shop, and I was like, dude, if we were in Florida, there'd be water.
Yep.
There'd be water there. There'd be a canal running between these houses and another canal there. And
We would never make it to the tackle shop
I
then.
get so frustrated with Florida fishing YouTubers because they're like, today I'm going to be fishing a storm drain. And then they drop it down a crate.
No, wait, the best one's, hey, today I'm fishing a hole in the floor.
Yeah.
And they're,
Okay. There's this
they're jigging
guy
a hole in the
goes around
floor.
to public pools, to like abandoned houses with just pools. And he's, look, there's an absolute trash.
Let me fish with no bait. Look at me catch a fish with no bait. Oh
Yeah.
shit, all right,
It's
cool.
just like, I got a line. He catches a fish. I'm like, okay. Some of us actually have to work.
Woo. All right, look, I want to know, man, because I did put it on the video, and I'm curious. Night calico fishing, day calico fishing.
there we go.
Oh, yeah. And it's just different. And you guys got the night. You guys are on the night deal. I was the same way. There's something about fishing at night that, especially whether it's the break wall,
Special.
it's different. If you fish in the daytime, it just doesn't. It's just not
What better way? You're under the stars with your buddies.
romantic.
Next time I got the candles, Charlie. Okay. See how it is.
No, but serious.
It's also like almost a handicap where it's like I go out during the day and I'm like, I don't even know how to fish right now.
No, seriously, like I was like, oh, this is what this actually looks like during the day. And I'm like,
Mhm.
you don't realize the water is actually crystal clear. You just don't really know it too at night or little things like that. But yeah, and we just say, oh, nighttime's the right time. I think that's true. I think some of the bigger fish, like they live on those walls. If I was a big fish that got big not by being dumb, I'd be chilling in my little hole or my little cave throughout the day between the divers who are also cruising around and these fishermen. And then once I have that comfort of like low light and dark, yeah, I'm gonna move around, cruise around, mow some lobsters, mow some octopus or whatever. And I categorize like rip wrap, breakwall fishing. Like you can get bit during the day for sure, which that happens. You could get on a good bite, whether it's a crank bite or a spinnerbait bite or a swimbait bite or a jig bite, whatever. But nighttime just seems to just put out more numbers and also put up quality for whatever reason or another. It just
Bigger numbers.
and I think those fish are just, again, like you're just like maybe those are just nocturnal fish that they only hunt at night. Yeah.
I remember on I think it was one of the casting crank episodes, C's was talking about it, and he said the Long Beach break ball is one of the best calico fisheries in the world at night. There's just it's something about when the lights.
So if you go on the day, you're not gonna catch what you catch at night.
It's funny, like I haven't been fishing a lot, just to be totally honest with you, just because I've just been busy and work, whatever. But like my buddies have, and I've been like, it's been like really good and been really good for the last couple months.
It's been
Where they're
on.
like- and they're like, dude, we're getting like 60 to 100 fish nights and fish
I believe
up. There's been
it.
fish that's been caught, but people aren't talking about them. Like there's been 8s and 9s and 10s and things like.
I gotten hate a couple weeks back.
Yeah, and it's just more conducive to those bigger fish. But which I love that nighttime fishing. But I also love like daytime hunting big calicos at the peninsula in California.
Oh yeah,
And they're, to me, that's the same fish, similar fishing, but it's two types of fishing. But that's still fun too. Like my PB wasn't caught at night. My PB was caught during the day in the middle of the afternoon on Palos Verdes, where we caught 3 fish that day. Of the 3 fish,
Yeah, I caught my PB during the day too. No, it was like sunrise.
it was sunrise.
Like almost.
Like his is true during the day. My PB was a sunset fish.
Yeah.
Your PB was a sunrise fish. It was probably more dark than it was light still.
Yeah. And there's something about those low light, whether it's the sundown, like back when I was like, didn't have a real job, didn't have kids and was single, like I would I get off work and race to meet like Randy at the boat ramp. So we get that last 2 hours of sundown, and we would just asses off and know that we would smoke them or have the confidence that we're going to smoke them. And then once like the crankbite died down or simmered down, we'd switch and just go full jig flip mode or big spoon bait mode and then do that the rest of the night. But yeah, I mean, to me, those are the core differences. It's just the nighttime is fishy. There's a reason why a lot of big fish get caught at night.
Well, and there's something you can't beat, like you were saying, being
The golden hour.
Fishing that kelp and watching those, like the visual of watching the calicos come out and chase your bait.
Oh yeah.
It's not something we get a whole lot about here.
No, when you have either a big one, follow your bait all to the boat and then bite it right there, or there's like a little wolf pack of fish.
Yeah, that's what I say, the wolf pack.
So the 8-pounder that Luke caught hit his bait and then came back for it.
Yep.
Now, was there another 8-pounder around there? Who knows? Or was it snatched from a little 7-pounder?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And the funny thing too is,
But
a lot of times those bigger fish come behind like a little 10 or 12-inch fish.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
I didn't get bit the first time. Yeah, I think it hit it and then bit it.
Charlie was like, maybe it took it from a little 7. What did I just say? I haven't broken.
dude, I have to learn. I call everything little, man. I just say, oh, look at this little 3-pounder.
Come on now.
But it was crazy though, because I'm on and he wasn't on, and then it came back. He's like, nah, and here comes this monster, which like blew my mind.
That's what,
you know?
Yeah, and if you get bit, it's one of those things where like just keep winding. Don't like, oh, I missed it. Because there's probably that fish and probably another few that are like just
Well, Lane talked about that. We went to a seminar they did, and Lane talked about that. He's the biggest mistake you could do is stop winding.
Yeah.
Or just start bringing it in and speeding it up. Keep that cadence.
Yeah.
See, that's one thing with spotties. If a spotty hits your bait and you didn't hook it, I've seen it before. Like they'll jump from one dock to another, right? Like they miss your bait. They're not going to stay. They're not going to go back to that dock. They're going to go to the next one.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I feel that way. Spotties, I feel like you got one chance. I think where it's different with spotties is if you're fishing like around eelgrass, keep that same, that, especially Mission Bay, where like, oh, you feel it kind of bite and miss it. You just keep winding. There's probably either going to come back and hit it, or there's going to be another one that's going to similar to. But dockfish, I feel like are like what you're explaining, where they might hit it once, and that's the one chance.
Well,
That's
they're
that
no shelter.
one-
Their seals are, but with calico, I've seen it where they'll like when at live bait fishing, where they'll hit your bait and they almost break it. Like they get the tail end of it, and then other calicos will come and start picking the pieces. So that's my mentality: is when you get hit, even if they miss, just keep winding because they'll start ganging up on it.
And I've seen it happen to Clementi, where it's okay. There's a fish fall all the way to the boat. He'll bite it at the boat, miss it, and I'm not paying attention. I wind it up, and the fish still they're like looking like where'd the bait go? And I drop it down, and I catch it. I'm like, oh, okay, there you go, buddy.
Dude, I think that's what happened with us that night with the striper. Luke was paying attention to me, and when he's pulling in his bait, you just see this big blow up behind. I was like, oh, he's like, you take care of your fish. I'm fishing. But yeah, I still want to see, man, just go to Clementi and just see fish follow my bait. That's my bucket list.
Nat Geo, it is. Yep, you'll get that opportunity at some point,
dude.
I think for all of us, that's the trip right there. Is that Clementi day trip?
The thing too, because that happens locally. When we were up at the last Coastal Social, we fished PV. I mean, we had followers. We had, that happens to local. It won't happen as consistent as if you're in like Cedros or you're at Clementi or some of the more like cliche premier spots. But that still happens, locally off Palos Verdes or other places.
Yeah, I was at PV and I was using this guy right here, and daytime is different than nighttime number,
Yeah.
but I had a 14 fish a day on this.
Yeah.
And
Just on that one.
Just on this one.
From your boat.
Boat. And I can't even count how many followers.
Have you short pound PB?
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah. Some of those clips I sent you was short pound stuff, which it's cool. A lot of people are doing that stuff now. It's not like it's anything new, but I think that clip, I was just like digging in the crates, dude. I was like, shoot, let me get this guy some clips. I accidentally scrolled.
I was like, you need to send me some
I accidentally
videos.
scrolled too far. I think that was like 2000 and like my kid was like 2, so that had to been like 2013 or 14 or something.
My favorite part about that is when an individual has drastic changes to where you're like, this doesn't even look like the same person. And Charlie throws them in the same video. And you're like, what?
That's what's cool about it, because it's like, it's a mix, right? Like, it's a mix of everything that you've done.
I was hitting that shore stuff like hard. I haven't done it in a while actually, but like I would go, I don't know, I was going pretty regular. Like for me, it was just like a nice way to, one, secretly burn calories for myself. Of
Get a hike in.
Rock hopping.
And then the opportunity to like, if I'm going to put the time into shore pound or shore fish, like honestly, I'm not going to go chase bodies. I'm going to go try to chase calicos. And I'm in Redondo Beach. So Palos Verdes is just up the hill. And like having grown up the South Bay, like I know a lot of the little trails and all the entry points and where to go and where not to go. Like just all the spots that, cause dude, and there's people that ask me like, hey man, like, where did you go? I tried to go to the spot and dude, it was I couldn't get bid and it was shallow. Where were you at? I'm like, oh yeah, it's like a big rock flat right there, dude. You're like,
yeah.
So just knowing like the time on the right tides and also knowing like the surf, because you could go down there and if there's a decent swell, like, all right, I'm not fishing today. Or
yeah,
so I'd look at the forecast, like I see what the surf's doing, see what tides I got. I would try to go on a low tide so I could access deeper water. And then, yeah, just knowing where to go. So like I was putting like a decent amount of time. I've never caught a big one from the shore. Like I've caught, like biggest is maybe a 4-pounder, but my good buddy, Brian, I was with, I took him down. He never done it. And his first time he caught like a 7. And
oh,
fine.
geez.
Wait, hey, Daniel, I'm not the only one. You heard Matt. He said, I didn't catch nothing big. It was just a 4-pounder.
Now, Top Shelf Tommy just said, I don't check tides. And for me, I would be like, I wouldn't have checked. I would have just brought a surfboard and a pole and been like, whichever one works out today, let's go.
Yeah, like, I'm a total like, and I'm that guy. My buddies, like my good buddy Randy. He few and far between checks conditions, tide. He just goes. But I'm the guy. I'm like, all right, dude, we got like good movement from like here today, and they I might slack off. Let's hit this spot. I'm that super hyper nerd that looks into everything.
Biometric pressure, everything.
No, not that level, but like for the main thing is wind, swell.
Have you ever talked to Bows and Arrows?
Yeah.
Scott from Bows and Arrows.
Scott's dope. Yeah.
Scott,
send me that little tide calendar.
Yeah.
The way I got one of those hanging on my wall.
Yeah, the way you just started describing like how like all the things that you're like looking at, Scott has it like computerized and all that stuff. He's like, yeah, I just have a chart. I can go back a couple different years, see what bit on what day. And I'm just there, just like a kid in a candy shop, just soaking it up. I'm like, okay, yeah. Oh.
You know what? It's crazy that you say that, because I was talking to T from Fish Hall maybe last week, and he was like, you need to start doing that. You need to start logging in like certain spots, what they're biting, how the tide was, how the moon phase was. And it's hearing him talk about that, because then you go back to it and it works out.
There's a couple things, and it's if you could fish 2 days a month, you just go fish those 2 days no matter what. If you're at a point like where we are, where we're fishing once to twice a week, you start paying attention to the tides, you start seeing what works best, and you capitalize on that opportunity. If I'm able to get out of the house and pick my 2 days, I've got a very specific tide I'm looking for. And because we were paying attention to that kind of stuff, right now we're chasing the striper from the shore. And we have it dialed down to what part of the tide we're looking for. Not even the tide. We want this tide. We want this 2-hour window in that tide.
Yeah.
And we will probably still continue to dial that in, but definitely makes it so we can get out those 2 days and do it.
Deals too, kind of like you said, they'll come clockwork and they'll be on for a little amount of time, but then they'll go out the window at some point and things will shift and change.
Yep.
The clip I sent you, I think at the end, that was low negative tide. So Where if you came on a high tide, like that, all those rocks would
disappeared.
and then August cast, you're only in from a strike zone perspective. You're not really in the like right amount of water. So this thing's just a dude of going and not catching fish and getting skunked, and then just seeing how conditions are so different times. Like I could know, okay, if I'm actually productive and I'm gonna commit to walking my ass all the way down the hill and walking it back up and going through the rocks and the water, I'm gonna at least make it worth my while. And then I started catching fish, something too, like of low tide versus going on. I was like, oh, I got to tide.
What's funny is I'm thinking the same thing, but I'm not walking down a mountain. I'm walking like straight out my front door, and I don't even want to do that if the conditions aren't even right.
See, that's the luxury of living where you live, right? You're able to just be like, man, not today, maybe
really
tomorrow. Right?
I'm gonna bring this up. Banana Movement says Luke has it so dialed in he knows when the fish are menstruating. Yeah, there's nothing better than being in a spawn bite. It sounds like a funny joke, but when you're out there and the spawn's going on, it's insane.
Dude, when you're on like a gray cod, I call them gray cod, sand bass bite, when they're like full blown like spawning, it's like
jizzing all over the boat.
Dude,
it's nuts.
Dude, remember that day we went out, Luke, and everything we were catching was just jizzing all over the boat.
We were slipping in it, but
no, we were.
But that bite was on fire, and they were big.
It was a good bite.
Everything was heavy.
It was a good bite, but yeah, man, it's pretty interesting because honestly, I was like, I went out Sunday, and I'm like, I was already with the intent. I wasn't gonna catch anything, and I was like, you know what? Nah, man, like. I got to stop thinking like that. And I got to go with that mentality. The tide was good. It wasn't like a low tide, but it was falling slow.
You're going to give all the juice?
Oh, no. Nowhere. I'm not saying where I was fishing. I was just saying it was just
what kind of tide are we looking for?
But I was persistent and I stuck with it, man. And I think I learned to be persistent because sometimes you do get frustrated and you're like, I don't want to go home without a fish. And I was telling Luke, I'm like, I got to learn how to say no. And just stop, because sometimes I get over my head and I'm like, I'm not going to leave until right. You're just like, I just got to catch a fish before I go home. And then sometimes you got to call it quits. Next time will be, you got to take a loss.
I've walked up that hill a lot, not catching anything. And I'm like drenched, soaked. I probably ate it a couple times, but I learned something too,
yeah.
You know, like,
but yeah, man, I think we're past a little bit our time.
We totally are.
But Matt, I want to appreciate you coming on again, man.
No, stoked you guys wanted me on and all that. No.
You're our first part too.
Okay. I appreciate it.
It's been an absolute blast having you on because you have so much just experience in so much different like areas. I actually want to pick your brain about potentially like other places, not even like US fisheries, just like where do you want to go? Where have you gone? What's next? What's new for you? Like what gets you excited in fishing in general? You're like, my next move is this. And so there's always just so much to talk about in fishing, and that's why we do it.
Yeah, no, totally, man. I mean, I love fishing. I'm a nerd about it. And, you know, I'm a student of the game, whether it's like when I travel too, it's like, there's always something I could pick up and learn from these guys. And okay, that's a different way of doing things. It like literally a fish is a fish, a bass is a bass, a snook, a redfish, spottie, calico, whatever. They're all just predatory game fish. There's different ways you could do it. One side note I forgot to mention was I've been hyped seeing you guys fishing scroungers.
So I'm like right now, I had to make a run and pick up some scroungers. I'm down to one.
That was my jam like in 2000. Shoot, when we were like first starting fishing, like when were me and Randy doing? It's like,
we're bringing it back.
So we're that far behind you? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Nick literally called us. He's dude. You guys are the Scrounger boys. Because that day we were with Nick, he was like, "You guys are just raking them in with the Scrounger."
No, because it's when I started seeing you guys fishing, I'm like, it's almost one of the baits I used to fish a lot, and then I saw things you kind of just get away from stuff. And it's dude, my jam like in 08, because I just hated. We were just like, I'm over. I've caught. You can only catch so many fish on a triangle head with a big hammer or fish trap. Yep. Okay, how to catch these things? And then I came across the 1 1/4 ounce, 1 ounce, and 3/4 ounce. I think Aaron Martins helped to bring him back on the scene 2008 or so. And I'd fish that with like a 7-inch mags, zoom fluke. I mainly like fishing flukes,
Yeah,
and
it's cool
like,
how weedless they are.
It gives
Dude,
it such a sick action, man.
it moves lock.
I haven't
For,
been
like,
able to
bait,
find.
It has that wiggle like an S bait. And
Yeah,
like,
the scrounger just adds so much to those fluke style, those slug style, those tapered tail style baits that it's such a just.
And you don't even have to
I'm gonna
burn
take
it.
a
Like, that's the
dragon tail,
thing.
put
You
it
don't even have to
sideways,
swim
slow
it
roll.
fast.
it's like a
You slow roll it, and it's just
and yeah, it was like seeing like honestly, I forgot. I was like, dude, I was looking at my garage and I found only an ounce and a quarter, ounce and a half. And it's good. I've been sleeping on these for the last, I don't know, like 12 years.
bring them back.
Yeah.
Bring them back.
It was like that for me. It was like that bait, the 316 mission fish were like my deal. And then there's like hard baits. We fished a bunch of just like weird, like jointed hard bait stuff. But yeah, it's been cool.
That's my next.
And,
That's my next. I think that's my next. I want to catch a fish on a jointed bait.
and then I first started with the calicos, and then I downsized to fishing like the 3/8 scroungers. I fished the long bills and the bills with a grub on the back. Mark Higashi put me on that. He's like, hey, I know you like scroungers. You fished those for spotties yet? I was like, no. He's like,
They chew them up.
That's where we started
I
fishing.
am always just shocked that a spotty will eat a 6-inch bait.
Yeah.
And the success I've had with a 1/2 ounce to a 3/4 ounce scrounger and the 6-inch slug blows my mind.
yeah.
Like I've had spotties absolutely eat the whole
Engulf
slug.
it, dude. Choke
It's like
it.
a 1/4 inch.
That's what I never did. I was like, that's like, oh, you're fishing like the calico size stuff
Mhm.
for like the spotties, not rad.
Yeah.
That was the conversations we were having when I first started fishing with Daniel from the shore, because I didn't shore pound as much.
Yeah.
And Daniel, what are you doing throwing that? And then I caught on it, and he had to jump bigger.
He's. I'm gonna outdo you real quick.
Yeah, it's been something that I've been wanting to do for so long. And then one day I went out with Luke and I was like, you know what? Bill and Shannon from Sudden Impact have been super awesome to me. I'm gonna be on that PB search. I'm throwing the 6-inch torpedo. And I'm like, if I get bit, that's it. If I just get bit, I'm gonna be happy. Because that's like my success level with those larger baits. And of course, I'm talking to Shannon and all that stuff. And I'm like, so what do you do when you throw the 6-inch bait, trying to pull out any information that he has for throwing big baits? And he's like, they smash it. They absolutely just crush the 6-inch bait. There's a time of the year when the smelt and just the bait in the harbor get a little bit larger.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's when I start throwing it. And that day I landed, I think like a 16, just under 17. It was just the most just chunk of a bass.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I was like, all right, I'm a big bait fish.
Baits it is.
Let's go.
So I'm going to show, this is Daniel's dragon tail, which is
that's
why we started fishing the scrounger, was to put this on.
Yeah.
But this next pack of scroungers I'm playing it sideways, give it a bigger profile.
Yeah.
Like that. Someone was recommending,
Joe.
I can't remember who, but it was Joe.
Joe,
But
he was like, it'll look like a little bluegill.
Exactly.
It'll probably kick harder.
Yeah.
On the scrounger, it's going to be going nuts.
Yeah, we're dealing-
Luke, before you do that, make sure in the ribs you just break it a little bit, because sometimes the plastic, because it's hot, it'll actually mold those like shell-like pieces together. So if you just pull them apart, yeah, just like that.
I'm going to put two of them together, make it extra fat.
Just glue the scrounger in the middle.
Lighter, I'm going
That'd
to
be
melt it.
All right, fellas. Matt, thank you very much. We appreciate you for coming on again, man.
It was awesome.
Very fun. Very fun.
Thank you guys.
I like how we
Thank
were
you for
trying to end that the first time and we just kept talking. But like I said,
Yeah.
there's always 1.5 million different things to talk about. We like fishing, you like fishing, and that's the fun part about
Oh,
it.
wait, we don't like fishing. We love fishing.
Charlie,
There's a difference.
take us out, Charlie.
What?
End it for us.
Hope to see
And
you
it's-
there.
And most of all, what fuels it all is our love for fishing. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yep.
Thank you guys for joining.
That
Thank
ends
you.
it. Peace out, everybody.